Welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy podcast with Ani and Brian. Join us as we explore the art and science of trauma-sensitive somatic practices and tools to strengthen your practice as a coach, therapist, or holistic professional. Master the art of motivating even the most challenging clients when you'll understand how to tap into and unlock your client's complete holistic intelligence. If you want to learn the most cutting-edge, research-supported skills for personal and professional mastery, you've come to the right place. Let's get this conversation started.
Hi, and welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy podcast. We are on episode 20. Hey there, Brian.
Hey, Ani.
Hi. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Good. Look at you. You're the colorful one today.
Yeah, I see you looking at my plaid.
I'm looking at your colors, man. You are colorful.
Yeah. Do you know why?
Why?
Because today we are talking about parent coaching training. And I wore my dad plaid shirt.
You going to make dad jokes
I
this whole
am
episode?
going to make dad jokes this whole episode.
No.
I actually just tricked you into
a
whole podcast of listening to my dad jokes.
So, boy, yay. Actually, I'm being a big party pooper because there is really good evidence about the fact that dad jokes are really healthy for kids, isn't there?
They are. Yeah, there was some research that came out last year or the year before, I think. And I don't remember all of the points of the research. And one of my favorite points, though, of the research was to show that dads basically help to improve emotional resilience in children because the dads
constantly making them uncomfortable.
Well, that's one part, constantly making the kids uncomfortable. But the fathers also give evidence or demonstrate self-humiliation without having that be a problem. You know, or acceptance of other people's criticism and degradation and those kinds of things.
Yeah. That is really actually a good life skill.
Yeah.
Yep. You're
not taking yourself
really
so seriously.
Good at that in our house. Mm-hmm. I have to say that's one thing that I really admire you as a co-parent in our home. Oh, hey, just in case you didn't know, Brian and I are life partners too. That's important, I think, for this conversation.
It is important for this conversation as we're talking about parent coaching training.
We were talking doing a class in our SBMC class, sensation-based motivation coaching. Was it yesterday? What was it? Oh, we were doing the shadow mirroring process. That's right. It's a topic that always has our students thinking about themselves as parents. So it was a part of it, by the way, not a part of the curriculum, but it was a part of what our students were bringing up as they were in their own inquiry. And we tend to have a lot of people who are family people join us as students. So a lot of people do have kids and all ages of kids, whether it's the little kids, the middle kids, or kids that are kind of transitioning out of the home, or folks who have older children too. When you're a parent, I'll speak for myself as a parent. Whenever I'm doing inquiry work for myself, I do think about my relationship and my role as a parent because I think, well, for me, it's one of the areas in life I feel like is the hardest to quote unquote get right. Because I've thought about it a lot too. Like, why is that? I think that one of the reasons is because the relationships, I think, kind of inherently baked into them as, they have this idea of we love these people so much that it provides us with a perfect storm to work on our things because our personal stuff, our baggage, our issues, whatever, karma, conditioning, whatever you want to call it. Because we'll show up because the love is so strong that we'll show up and do that challenging self-reflective work. So anyway, it's something that comes up a lot when I do my own self-reflection work, and I see it with our students all the time as they're doing their own inquiries about their own lives. These ideas about like who I am as a parent come up all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think if I could go back in time, I mean, I can't go back in time, but if I could go back in time, and although quantum physics would say I can go back in time.
Yeah, right.
So let me just kind of requalify that and say, I actually can go back in time. So now I'm thinking about how I could go back in time. So this is what I'm going to do when I go back in time. When I go back in time, so my son is 18 years old now. And if I had two things when my son was born, or when I was thinking about having kids, number one, if I wish, if I go back in time, this is what I would change, I will change, is that I would have been actually open to coaching. I mean, I've changed a lot in terms of capacity to work with people and take more inner excavation or guided inner excavation around coaching and those types of things in the last 18 years. So I think when my first son was born, I don't think I would have been as open to coaching, first of all. If I had, I would have hired a parenting coach for sure, because one of my favorite humans on the planet, who identifies as a transgender human, I was watching them give a talk one time, the first time I met them, and they said parenting is by far the most transformational, growth orientated, experience you will ever have as a human. And I've had a sex change, so that means something. And like the whole ballroom just exploded in recognizing laughter. And when I heard that joke, that insight, powerful insight, I said, I have got to meet this person. And I tracked them down at the Starbucks outside of the conference room. And I said, we have got to talk. And it's just absolutely one of my favorite people on the planet. And that awareness has still resonated with me, because it's absolutely true. No matter what you do in life, what I've found that the trifecta of growth-oriented experiences in life, these are the big three. The big three are parenting, number one, that forces you, a forcing function for self-inquiring growth. Number two, relationship, right? That's like number two, like you're in a relationship with somebody. And number three, business owner. That's the trifecta right there. And
the icing on the cupcake, I think, is probably co-parenting with your exes and having your parents or in-laws live across the street, right?
Yeah, right. So that blended family nuance, yeah, with extended family living around. Yeah. So there's that. That's just the spice on the top of the trifecta pie.
It's spicy though.
It's spicy.
It's spicy.
So this whole idea of like, I think every parent should use a coach, first of all. Every parent could probably benefit from using a coach, because as Ani pointed out, and in my experience too, it's the one thing where you feel like every day you're doing it wrong. And there's really like no days where you're like, I'm really doing a good job sort of thing. Well, I mean, maybe there are some days, and those days seem really sweet and fleeting.
They're followed by
right, and fleeting,
some hard
because
thing.
the rest of it feels like, oh my God, it always feels like a struggle in a lot of ways.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things for me that I felt like if there's a win that I feel like I do well, and that's using somatics with the
Yes.
coaching that either I'm doing with myself or the coaching that I have with other people. So somatics with parent coaching, I think, is the shortcut, if there is one. Because one of the biggest problems that we have as parents is disentangling our own story from the experience that our children are having. Because when we see our children going through things, whether it's quote unquote positive or negative, desirable or undesirable, we project our own stories onto how they must feel. And then we accommodate the things that we do so that we can help teach them a lesson, help them have a better experience, whatever it is that we're, trying to do. We manipulate's not the right word, where we fix ourselves around how we think they're feeling when one of the most powerful things we can do is disentangle the fact that we don't actually know what they're experiencing, and to not project our own stories and feelings onto what we think they're experiencing, not assume that we know. And man, that's challenging. But somatics has been, for me, the fast track on this. And also the way I can know, Brian, whether or not I'm doing that, because it's so easy to think that I'm not doing that. And I am. But with somatics, I can tell the difference. And when I use it with my clients who are parents, then they know somatically whether or not they're wrapped up in the story or not with their kids. Because it really, I mean, life has challenge and life has awesomeness, both, right? There are times when I distinctly remember like those pivotal memories with my own kids where I've been pretty sure that they think a certain thing, but then I somatically can be open enough, grounded enough, neutral enough, whatever enough, so that they can tell me their experience, and I let it in and I hear it and then I believe them. And I realize, wow, then I get more curious. I wonder what else they're experiencing. But the somatics has really been the shortcut for
Yeah,
me.
huge part of it. I think that every parenting coach professional really should be trained in somatic coaching for all the reasons that you just said. We
There's so
actually
many
have had a
reasons.
couple.
Oh my
We have had a
goodness.
couple parenting coaching
Yeah.
professionals who've already been, parenting coaching professionals come through our certification program, and they're just the sweetest
Sweetest people.
people, just so sweet. And the most important work too. I mean, I think about all the work that the people do in the world that we've had an influence around training. I mean, whether they're physical therapists working with people with cancer, or whether they are entrepreneurial coaches, or whether they are coaches working with people in addiction or incarcerated. I mean, we work with a lot of people who are doing really, really powerful, amazing, much needed, important work in the world, which is really rewarding. And when I meet someone who does parent coaching, to me, it's like, oh my God, that is like
Special place in our heart.
very, very special place. It's not that the other ones aren't important, but the idea of influencing a child to live an authentic life as an adult and feel safe in their own skin is so important. And I think, as you've noted too, Ani, the people who've come through our certification program that we've worked with who are parents, I would say that that is one of the key places that they desire to use the things they're learning, not only in their work, but with their kids. And we've actually had just a couple of weeks ago, we had a student tell us about how she was using cross mapping with her young daughter to help her get to sleep, and the transformational description that her daughter was sharing with mom about the experience and how much closer they felt together. And it was just such a beautiful, wonderful note to get from her and them. It was really, really heartwarming.
Yeah. Remembering too, Brian, that a large part of the coaching journey, learning to be a coach, when we learn to be a coach, we learn how to do coaching with ourselves too. Like we become different through the course of coach training. But all of our students are to some degree learning how to reparent themselves. So there's the subconscious mind, by the way, doesn't know how old we are. And so we're constantly working with different aspects of ourselves and our inner child and all the different incarnations of that, and learning how to be the parents to parent that part of ourselves. And so some of the work that we do really is about reparenting ourselves as well. And somatics aren't necessarily going to be a part of parent coach training. So we consider the Somatic Coaching Academy really to be a mastery level program for coaches, because coaches are going to go through either program where there is no niche, or you're going to go through a program where there is a niche, like parent coach training. And then the somatic work would really be mastery level work on top of that.
Yeah, to go deeper with the processes and the methods that you already are using with your clients.
Mhm.
How do we get into the body to help create transformation? I loved what you said, Ani, about as adults, we're learning to kind of reparent ourselves in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. And I think reparent slash reprogram
Yeah. Well, yeah,
is a lot
absolutely.
of that. I think what can happen for people throughout their whole lives, but let's just say parents for a second, is we don't realize that we actually learn how to parent when we're children. When we're kids and we're soaking up everything around us and we're watching how our parents are operating with one another, with our siblings, with us, with the schools, with their own jobs, with their own internal stuff that they have going on, we're soaking all of that up. And then all that learning, all that programming gets put onto a little microchip, and we put it in a file someplace in our nervous system because we don't need it. We don't need it until we're a
Parents.
parent. So it gets shoved in a box someplace, and then we grow up, we teenagers, we go off to college, we watch other people parenting, and we're like, I'm not going to parent like that, and I wouldn't do that, and I would do it differently, and I'm going to do it differently. And then all of a sudden we become a parent, and it's like that microchip gets plugged in, and all of a sudden the programming for how to become a parent starts running.
It's active.
And all the things that we said we would never do as parents, all of a sudden our own parents' words start coming out of our mouths. And we're like, where is that coming from? It's a part of that. It's just like that microchip is on a time capsule. It gets activated. And all of a sudden you have this program running. And that's why it's so important then to have outside help from someone to help you get inside yourself. You need outside help to help get inside yourself in order to create the change that you really want to create. We've all had the experience where we have a kid, and then something happens, and all of a sudden we hear our parents' words flowing out of our mouths, and we're like, where did that come from? Why am I swore I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't do that. That's that microchip that's been activated. And these microchips, they really act like time capsules. They were put in when we were young. We learned how to parent in this framework. We didn't need it. And then it gets reactivated as soon as we become a parent. And that's the time when we need someone from the outside to help us reprogram our inside. Because we're all of a sudden swimming in this new water, but we don't realize the water that we're swimming in. And the only map that we really have has been outdated from our old childhood that we might not have liked anyway.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned time capsules, because I think that's a really powerful and important teaching. And the way that you talk about it is so easy to understand. Like, there are these moments in our lives, like when our child is born, that all of a sudden activate this time capsule. It's not like it wasn't in there. It's been in there the whole time. We just didn't need to activate it yet. And parenting has so many of those time capsules, because it's not just when your child is born, that activates the time capsule of all the parenting information that we have in our systems. But then they're 1, they're 2, they're 3, their first steps, the first day at school, all of those milestones for them reactivate things within us every single step of the way.
Yeah.
And so we're going through our own process of remembering what it was like to be that age and go through the things that they're going through when they're going through them. And we've got all the stuff that we're dealing with as parents and all the self-development we're doing at the same time. I think as I'm talking about that, one of the things that's coming to me is like, that sounds like a lot. Like, that sounds like chaos. That's so much. And I think one of the things that I have personally found to be the most helpful in doing somatics with parenting is being okay to be in the mess.
Mm-hmm.
Because boy, human existence and stuff is messy. And having kids, it just throws us all in this big soup together. And one of the best things I think that we've done, it feels like we're doing it wrong at the time, is having the kids see us figure stuff out and have it be okay being messy and have those dad jokes and
Mhm.
laugh and cry and be human, because that's life. That's life. But it's the somatics that have really allowed us not only to like do it better and repattern and reprogram and reparent ourselves and be better parents, but it's the somatics that have helped us to relax and to be curious and more compassionate and loving and all of those things.
Yeah. So really, I think what we're talking about here is that parent coaching and parent coach training is absolutely so valuable.
It's so valuable.
So important. And we feel like somatic coaching and somatic work can make it even better, make it even deeper, make it even more transformational and more supportive for parents and kids and families that are in dire need for that right now in the world.
Yeah. I'm just remembering, Brian, the YouTube video we did with our kids when they were really little.
The tapping video?
Yeah, we did a somatic practice video with our kids when they were really little. That your story about cross mapping to help the children go to sleep reminded me of it. The teenagers are a little less likely to use, at least out in the open, some of the stuff that we do and they've seen us do. I'm willing to bet that they do some of this stuff. We know you're watching right now. We see you behind closed doors. But it warms my heart to know that when their time capsules open up someday, they're going to have some of this stuff in their time caps that'll help them along their parenting journey too.
Yeah, boy, that's a whole interesting idea right there, is like, what are we putting in our kids' time capsules? I do want to say, when we get to topic of parenting and kids, that happens through the course of our program, certainly, that we always invite parents and people who've been parented, like who's been parented here?
Who has a parent?
Who has a parent, like we all do. With a huge amount of grace and compassion and idea that, we're all doing the best that we can, and everyone is always trying the best that they can with the resources they have available to them at any given time. And that belief systems themselves that get passed down through generations have their own life force. Like they are programmed to survive just as much as anything else is. And they survive down through generations. And these belief systems can be very powerful in manipulating humans to perpetuate themselves. So we just want to kind of step back for a second and have a bit of a witnessing moment and some compassion for ourselves and for our parents and ourselves as parents. I think is really, really important to consider if we want to be able to transform and to make things better, more growth oriented, more loving, more expansive. It's really important that we try to let go of things as much as we can from the past.
Yeah, the self-judgment that we carry on is a wonderful thing to kind of put on a shelf so that we can invite that grace and self-compassion in and have the very challenging situation of parenting have a little bit more flow and a little bit more exhale and relaxation associated with it, so that maybe we can soak up those moments of joy even a little bit more.
Yeah. So with that, thank you so much for joining us today for our episode number 20, talking about somatics and parent coaching training. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
We'll see you. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope that this conversation will help you improve your practice and change the way you think about your work, your clients, and yourself. Continue your exploration of trauma-sensitive somatic coaching by listening to more podcast episodes at somaticcoachingacademy.com. You could be the trusted guide that people turn to help them with their most challenging situations and to reach their most precious goals. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.